Welcome to the Album Nerds Podcast with your hosts, Don and Dude.
Shut up when I'm talking to you. It's the Album Nerds Podcast. I'm Dude.
How rude.
Yeah, that's what the new metal does to me, man.
It's just one of those days.
It is. I feel like a chainsaw. What? I'll skin your ass raw. All right, enough of that. This is the Album Nerds Podcast. I'm Dude. I got Don with me.
Everybody sucks. That kind of sounds like Zach De La Rocha there or something.
A little bit. A little Fred Durst flavoring in there. Okay, so we here at the Album Nerds Podcast love albums, the album format, talking about them, hopefully recommending some to our listeners and brightening people's days. We have a great show for you today. The two of us are jumping into the new metal cesspool and came out with some good stuff. So we'll each be presenting an album from the classic new metal era of the late 90s to the early 2000s. Don's going to ask us a deep question, and then, of course, we will talk about some other albums and album-related items that we're digging. But now, it's new metal time. Oh,
that's what I'm talking about!
Nu metal, spelled NU metal, emerged in the late 1990s as a hybrid genre that blended the aggression of heavy metal with elements drawn from hip-hop, alternative rock, and electronic music. Characterized by down-tuned guitars, dense grooves, and emotionally charged lyrics, it connected strongly with youth audiences, navigating themes of alienation and identity. Its crossover appeal and willingness to merge contrasting musical influences made it one of the most polarizing, yet commercially successful movements in modern rock history. Today, both of us will present nu metal albums.
Yes, we will. We're just a skosh older, I think, than the kids that really got into it. Although I think we were both young enough to have embraced it had we chosen to. But
right, we could have been in nu metal bands.
Yeah, we're the right age, about their age. I should have.
Yeah.
I should have been willing. I was just so closed off with my Pearl Jams and Soundgardens and whatever. I just couldn't let it go.
You would have looked good in the big pants.
I know I would have. I have no butt as it is, so. So there are tons and tons of considerations here. I mean, so many bands came out of the woodwork. Some of the more notable that we could have considered: Disturbed, The Sickness. Mm-hmm. That was kind of radio friendly, a little more melodic than some of the no rapping per se, but some scatty type stuff from David What's-His-Face, right?
Draymond, yep.
Deftones, which I think were kind of pre-existing, but I think Korn and some other bands may have influenced what they started doing, so they're kind of thrown in there. Slipknot in the mix, they're self-titled, probably the most iconic, but Iowa is when the aggression and experimentation really came in. System of a Down with Toxicity and that weird delivery, the sing-songy stuff, always very interesting. But the big ones that I think about most, what come to mind are Kid Rock and Limp Bizkit, which are probably the two poison pills that made me not interested in the genre, because they were the first two I heard, like Significant Other by Limp Bizkit, and Kid Rock's Devil Without a Cause was very popular on MTV and stuff, and I remember thinking it didn't feel genuine. It felt like a put-on persona, and the bands we're talking about today didn't do that. Any other big ones that you'd want to bring up?
Incubus, I remember them. They had a couple of big albums.
They were kind of on that bubble intentionally. I don't think they wanted to be nu metal.
Yeah.
But they're very experimental on like the album Science from 1997.
There were a couple artists from the time that I wasn't sure if they counted, like a Godsmack. You know, are they nu metal or?
No, they're a hard rock. They don't have any of the rap elements. They don't have any turntables. It's more like Alice in Chains than it's just that they were around at the same time. Yeah. But yeah, so there was a lot.
Yes.
So the picks are in. The metal is new. Let's get to our cha-cha-cha choices.
You choose me?
Okay, so we're going to go back to what could be considered the beginning of nu metal. So some claim it started with Korn, K-O-R-N, with their self-titled debut released in October 1994. Korn from Bakersfield, California. You've got Jonathan Davis on lead vocals, also some bagpipes in there, which we'll talk about. James Monkey Schaffer, Brian Head Welch on guitars, Reginald Fieldy Arvizu on bass, and David Silveria on drums.
Cha-cha-cha.
Silveria. And it was produced by Ross Robinson. I think this was like the first, big album that he produced, but he became a big producer for this genre. He did some Limp Bizkit and Slipknot and so on. Also did a Cure record, which is kind of a controversial one in their catalog.
I bet.
So, the album and, kind of new metal in general, kind of fused metal and hip hop and funk. Well, here's the opening cut, Blind.
You don't know the chances. I'm so blind.
So Blind actually predates Korn. So Jonathan Davis was in a band called Sex Art.
Of course he was.
And so Ryan Shuck and Dennis Shin from Sex Art got co-writing credit on this album. There was, in fact, like a legal dispute about it. So their names appear on the record now. It's kind of stream of consciousness about being blind to reality, blocking out unwanted perceptions. Also got some drug problems and that kind of stuff in there. Interestingly, another band that Ross Robinson produced was Wasp. Remember we did that Wasp record? So they ended up using a stolen Wasp guitar.
Nice.
Yes. Blackie Lawless's guitar.
Yep.
So again, sort of setting the template for new metal. They're using 7-string guitars. Right? So you've got basically an extra lower string. It looks like most of them are in standard A tuning, which I've never done before. But starts out with that "Are you ready?" at the beginning, which is kind of a trademark.
I feel like that was a shot across the bow of like, are you ready for this music? No one was calling it new metal yet, but it was somewhat about the context of the actual song, but it feels like it was heavy music's going to change.
Yeah. And you wonder, like, to what extent, they might have thought that they were starting something new.
Well, I've seen some interviews and stuff, and I forget which guy it was. One of the guitarists was talking about how they were inspired by Mr. Bungle and bands like that did these unconventional things, and then they took it to this next level of intensity. That I mean, that's not a guitar riff, but it became what new metal guitar riffs were built on.
Yeah.
It's interesting stuff, much more so than I gave it credit for over the years.
Yeah. Another way it kind of sets the template for new metal is, you don't have the guitar solos, that were such a staple of metal in the 80s.
Well, even of grunge.
Right, yeah, you got some big guitar solos.
Huge guitar solos in Soundgarden and Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains songs and stuff. So, yeah, kind of scrapping that definitely changes the recipe.
Yeah. And, again, there are hip-hop elements. It's not quite as obvious with this record as some of the ones that come later, but it's definitely there.
Yeah, it feels like Cypress Hill to me. Like it has a similar dark yet accessible vibe as Cypress Hill's.
Yeah, apparently the bass coda in the song is inspired or almost a ripoff or something of Cypress Hill's "Lick a Shot."
Oh, really? There you go.
Yeah,
my ears don't deceive me.
Well done, sir. Okay, well let's hear another cut. This is "Chutes and Ladders."
This old man came rolling home.
That's exactly how we did that. That's in my neighborhood when I was a kid. Yeah, he stole it from us. I feel like the Marilyn Manson vocal is somewhat, I think, utilized more effectively here with it not being so theatrical.
Yeah, when he does the quiet voice.
Yeah, the quiet voice is kind of takes that, but it's creepy as hell, man.
Yeah, so this song, basically utilizes children's nursery rhymes, but there are, ones that actually have kind of a darkness to them, right? So it starts out, "Ring around the rosy," which, was about the plague. Right?
Yeah.
And then, London Bridge, is kind of a darker song too. We're used to these songs. I don't know, you sing them when you play double dutch or something.
Yeah. You just crap you learn as a kid that you never think about because it's hundreds of years old, you don't think about the meanings of stuff.
Yeah.
Until someone explains it to you.
So they're finally somebody is putting the appropriate background music to these.
Yeah, they're probably like, this shit's creepy.
Yeah.
Let's make it sound creepy.
Yeah, but I think it also kind of fits the theme of the overall album, sort of the loss of innocence and, just how disturbing maybe, things can be in childhood.
Well, Jonathan Davis was a victim of sexual abuse,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So, which he's spoken about quite a bit. So I'm not like,
right. And he will sing about. We'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah. But yeah, that pain, that twisted childhood. Like I was blessed to have an innocent childhood with all that, looking back on playgrounds and stuff. And for those less fortunate in that regard, like that would affect your life forever. Like,
oh yeah,
not being able to look back fondly has got to suck.
Yeah.
So,
this is probably the first Korn song I ever heard. And I think I just kind of dismissed it at the time as a novelty. Like, oh, here's a metal guy, doing nursery rhymes, which is probably an idea I had in middle school. What I do like about this song is actually the bagpipes, which are played by Jonathan Davis, which is pretty impressive. I can't imagine the bagpipes are an easy instrument to learn.
I mean, inspired by AC/DC, didn't they use bagpipes like in
Long Way to the Top?
Yep.
Yeah, and then that probably paved the way for the Shuffle Off to Boston people, the Dropkick Murphys.
Oh, yeah. So it's not unheard of, but in this context, it's certainly opening that Chutes and Ladders with the bagpipes, which I understand was recorded in the studio. They put mics outside the building, and Jonathan was walking up the walk. So that fade in is a real, it's not like a studio fade in. It's him walking to the microphone.
Very cool.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, was there a track you wanted to highlight?
I'm going with the track Divine, which seems like it's going to be a Celine Dion jam, but it isn't. Throughout the album, the way the bass is used, like a drum, it's pretty awesome, to be honest. So this is the 5th track from the album. It's right after the song Clown, and the sequencing is pretty important here, I think. Clown dealt with the humiliation and frustration of being mocked and bullied. And then Divine is kind of like this violent, feral fantasy response. The lyrics are pretty blunt, channeling these violent urges toward people that wronged Jonathan as a kid. I think he got picked on quite a bit. I understand he did Cure makeup at school, wore skirts and stuff to school.
Yeah, he was a big Duran Duran fan, I guess. Yeah. And
like, back in those days, I'm about his age probably, that wouldn't have gone down well for the kid doing it at school. People would have been mean. To some extent, I kind of admired their guts because they had to know that someone's going to give them shit, but they wanted to be who they were and they took it. And that's admirable, to be honest. So the music reflects this eruption of anger. Monkey's jagged, down-tuned guitars, this unstable riff stuff that goes on. Fieldy with the bass. It's just, I guess it's probably a cathartic release, but man, you could feel that anger.
Yeah.
Such a title too. I guess the divinity is in getting your revenge or letting that anger out.
This song was supposedly co-written by Robert Trujillo, who's now the current bass player for Metallica. I don't remember which new metal band.
He was in Infectious Grooves,
okay,
which was kind of the precursor. There was that kind of groove metal mixed with a little bit of the sauce.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you kind of hear that funky bass in there, and I think, I'm not sure if this particular track has it, but a lot of the songs here also feature 5-string bass, with that extra low string. So in all of that, the extra string on the guitar and the bass, it all sort of adds to this kind of deeper, muddier sound, I think, which makes all of this feels darker and more intense. Yeah, you're right.
Speaking of intense,
yeah, here's arguably the most intense track on the album. Here's Daddy.
Yeah, it's like the voices in Jonathan's head, they all, like, that's what's cool on these songs, this voice and the the anger voice and the kind of little kid voice, the different parts of his feelings come out that way. It's interesting.
He's pretty dynamic.
Yeah.
So this, I guess, refers to sexual abuse that Jonathan Davis experienced from either a family friend or a babysitter. They've never gotten specific with it. People misunderstood, because of the lyrics, they thought it was about his father.
Right.
But apparently not. But it does, I think, address, his parents basically not believing him when he informed them about it. So
the anger is that no one would believe him and no one would help him. So there's not only betrayal from the person in his life that abused him sexually, but then betrayal from the people who are supposed to protect him.
Yep. So a very powerful song. I mean, it's a great song. I mean, it's got a great riff, just a really catchy, I guess, chorus, if you want to call it that. And then, I mean, it's kind of like he has a breakdown at the end. I mean, I guess at first I thought it was just kind of theatrics, but it might be real.
It's reported that it was a complete sobbing breakdown. I mean, from the weight of the stuff he's getting out. I mean, like those voices, I don't feel like that's not theatrical either. I think it's those parts of him all speaking, having their moments. And this is explicit and devastating. Yeah. This song, the lines like "you raped, I feel dirty," it's rough.
Yeah. Then, at the end, it gets kind of weird because he's crying. And then all of a sudden there's a woman's voice singing like a lullaby. Yeah. And then there's a really cool instrumental part being played under that. I enjoy that part of the song. But then, as was typical at the time, we have the hidden track thing. Yeah. So there's 5 minutes of silence. And then there's just this amusing conversation between this guy and his wife about car parts. And
that's weird.
Supposedly it was Ross Robinson found this in an abandoned house. So I don't know where the tape came from or who recorded it or why they were recording it. Right. But it's amusing.
What were their names?
Michael and Jerry.
Yeah, it's weird, but it kind of gives that whole, and again, it's a bonus track. It doesn't count as a song per se, but it's not performed by Korn in any way, but it adds to that family dysfunctional couple, like the dark side of human relationships and stuff.
And what I appreciate, I mean, he's somewhat verbally abusive to his wife, but she's also kind of antagonizing him, I think, as well. She doesn't give in at all, so
it's weird.
I enjoy it. But there are kind of other breaks in the album. Somewhere in between there, you have some studio chatter, with them being kind of goofy and stuff. So, it's not all gloom and doom. But overall, I'm impressed with this record. Let's rewind and reflect on Korn's self-titled debut album. I'll start out with my clickbait headline. Hickory dickory dock, Korn can really rock.
Why don't you deliver it? Hickory dickory.
Hickory dickory. Again, there's the nursery rhyme thing, but I guess I knew they rocked, but like you, I think I recognized that they were probably worthy of respect. I just hadn't established a personal connection with them, and I bought into this, and pretty quickly.
My overall vibe described in a clickbait headline: Korn's self-titled debut, the loudest, creepiest therapy session in history.
It's funny. It did kind of remind me of that John Lennon record with the scream therapy. There's a little bit of that going on here.
True. There's also a little bit of Sybil going on here with different personalities coming out.
The people.
It's dark. It's raw. It's unsettling. It's like being pulled into a nightmare, but it's a nightmare based on abusive childhood and being picked on, and not ghosts and goblin monsters, but human monsters. But it's cohesive in mood. Paranoia, trauma, rage, alienation run throughout every track. And that bounce metal sound, as I've seen it named, that Fieldy's percussive bass tone. It works. Yeah, it's a great record.
All right. Well, how about the killer to filler ratio? Were there any particular cuts that stood out or didn't?
Yeah, I mean, there are, and it's more pain, like Faget, as I call it, Faget. It sounds vulnerable, but it's really, there's a lot of fury in it. The slur that Davis endured, wearing skirts and stuff at school, was tortured by being called the F word, and he turns it around here. Now, I did do some reading, and largely no one thinks that this is homophobic in any way, the way that it's being used here.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there. How about you? Any others?
Yeah, I mean, they're all intriguing in some way. There's Helmet in the Bush.
It's a weird title.
I think that sort of refers to the idea of not being able to perform sexually when you're high on whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's actually what the song is about, the addiction. So yeah, that's another dark journey.
I kind of mentioned earlier, Clown.
Yeah.
That's a great track, but channels out all that humiliation into pure aggression. A lot of start-stop riffing going on. So, the loud, quiet element from previous generations of rock and roll were taken to the next level.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, they're good at that, and they're good at changing time signatures and stuff too.
You can't tap your foot for very long without having to get the other one involved or speed up or slow down. So on the other side of that, as far as filler goes, I don't really think there is any. I mean, the album is pretty damn long, but I can't really pick a song or songs I would remove from it. I think it's good as it is. How you feel about that, Don?
Yeah, I don't, it's fine.
Yeah.
All right. So the production, as I said, was done by Ross Robinson. He had really encouraged the band to perform live. So most of this is recorded together. They're not doing their instruments.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
All bands should record that way, I think.
It does seem like every time we, read that, it ends up being a good album.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I guess there was a lot of use of, analog effects and stuff like that. Lots of guitar effect pedals and that they were using on the bass as well. I do think it set the tone for the genre production wise.
For sure. Yeah, apparently Robinson really pushed the band, like berating Jonathan Davis and others, like I think trying to bring out that emotion, by taking them to those moments of humiliation.
Yeah, he is one of those producers, I think, that people sometimes say bad things about because of that.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. The guitar tone isn't flashy, but it's about innovation and groove. And they take these off-putting guitar parts specifically to like itch your brain, like that ain't right. But then when they're fused together, it just crushes.
Yep.
So
replay value, I'm in. I'm definitely in on this album, and it's probably time to expand and start listening to the rest of the catalog.
Me too. I mean, it's powerful, but it can be draining. It's not really a casual listen. I mean, unless you just want to bang your head and ignore the words, which works too. I will be listening to this a lot more. Sorry it took so long, Korn.
And then the legacy, from what I've read, I mean, people point to this as kind of being the beginning of nu metal. So I think they deserve a lot of credit.
So musically, yes, that blueprint for nu metal is there. But Davis's lyrics about abuse and trauma and alienation, his emotions coming out from truth, gave voice to kids who felt invisible, and I think that also contributed to what came later in the nu metal scene.
Yeah, and it's first person, unlike Jeremy, which is,
Yes, that's more impactful when it's real.
Right, well, Korn's debut redefined heavy music and set the template for the entire nu metal movement. You must check it out.
Excuse me, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
It's time again for Deep Questions by Don. All right, so, nu metal, a lot of it seems to be inspired by things that happen in childhood. So if you started a nu metal band, or if you had started one, say, in your 20s, what childhood material could you draw on?
Well, I mean, you could take pretty much anything, like being forced to sit at the table and eat your vegetables. Dinner time's over and you can't leave until you eat your vegetables.
That is aggravating.
Not quite as impactful as some of the things that were brought up on the Korn record. But yeah, I was thinking about stuff like when I was in middle school, new to this school, in my global studies class, there was a kid I didn't know that sat behind me, and anytime I would shift, he would try and pull my chair out from under me, and one time made me fall. And I could feel his feet on my chair every day trying to do that. And this, like, this wasn't like one of the cool kids. He was just some kid that had an evil glitter in his eyes at other people's suffering or humiliation. He was one of those trip people while they're walking to the cafeteria types.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had fantasies about, those chairs that were made out of ceramic seats with the metal legs that you had in school back in those days. I had fantasies about how I would pull him out of his and hit him with it. So maybe that kind of stuff. Yeah. I had friends, stuff was cool, but this one guy just happened to be behind me. Maybe he did that to other kids in other classes. I don't know, but probably. I don't remember his name or anything. It didn't burn me that bad where I remember who he was or anything, but in that moment, I remember just being like red-faced and embarrassed and wanting to get retribution.
I remember that kind of people doing that thing, trying to, pull the chair out.
Well,
from
to be honest, I did that kind of stuff too, so I probably deserved it.
What drove me nuts was the purple nurples. Like, cause I wasn't a heavy kid, but I was always a little soft. So you could always like grab a pretty good, chunk of nipple. Nerp. Yeah. So that was the worst.
That could have been the name of your new metal band. Purple nurple.
You're not going to twist me. I don't know. But so actually, I guess parallel to Jonathan Davis in one way, I was a Duran Duran fan, at quite a young age. And I think like in third grade, inspired by some Duran Duran poster I saw where they're all wearing like white shoes and like bright white, like dress shoes. And, my mother obliged and got me a pair. And I remember, wearing them to school and getting, made fun of for it. I'm not sure exactly, what's so offensive about white shoes. But then I just remember a kid like just stomping on them, like stepping on them just to stain them. And that's just so mean because with white shoes that doesn't come out.
Wow. It clearly hasn't come out of your broken heart either.
And I'm sure my mother was more angry about it than I was, but so Jonathan Davis and I have a little bit in common. We suffer for Duran Duran.
Don't we all?
All right, so what childhood material could you draw on for your new metal band? Let us know on our social media like Instagram and Facebook at Album Nerds.
All right, so I went with one of the kind of, I guess, second wave of new metal, perhaps 6 years or so after Korn. Linkin Park started as Zero with an X, E-R-O, in 1996. Then they became Hybrid Theory as a band name. But then there were some legal reasons or something that they had to shift again and change to Linkin Park. Mike Shinoda, the rapper.
Mike Shinoda.
Dun, 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 keyboard player and songwriter. In an interview, he said that a lot of it had to do with, this was early in the internet boom. They wanted to make sure they could get the .com. So Linkin Park was something they could get a .com for. But other members of the band, Brad Delson on guitar, Rob Burden on drums, Joe Hahn on turntables, Dave Farrell on bass, and of course Chester Bennington, who joined in 1999, has that powerful scream-sing voice that kind of completed their sound. Mm-hmm. They fused metal, hip-hop, and electronic elements into a highly accessible and impactful style, taking it to the next level. I think kind of a more artistic Limp Bizkit, not just straight up, I'm the bully, I'm going to pick on you, and I want some nookie type stuff, but taking that Korn real emotion and blending it with those elements. Yeah. So the album is Hybrid Theory from October of 2000. Don Gilmore, producer. It was their debut. It helped define that early 2000s new metal rap rock sound. Unique songwriting with that blend of piano and drums and dual vocals. At the time, any rapping, I was like, I don't want rapping in my rock. I don't want peanut butter in my chocolate. But giving it a real try, it works. But man, they sold 4.8 million copies of this album. A cultural landmark, really, that cemented Linkin Park's identity and warmed audiences to this introspective heavy rock. Why don't we jump into the opening track, Paper Cut.
It's like a paranoid looking over my back. It's like a whirlwind inside of my
It's just, I mean, even at the time when I wasn't a fan of this and it played in our record store all the time, like I couldn't help but like kind of almost jump up and down to it. This song establishes the album's themes of inner conflict, emotional volatility, the rap verses and the sung choruses and those sharp guitar riffs that are jagged. Sometimes stuff is intentionally like messed up. Have you noticed that? Like guitar sounds and stuff off to the side, and it's not a mistake.
No, it's all very deliberate.
And the paper cuts being these little ongoing pains that keep reopening themselves, making you feel wounded more often than the size of the injury would suggest. And I think it's a good opener of a little bit of these little cuts that sting us never really go away.
Who did we just do that had the tattoos that never go away?
The broken heart tattoos from Ryan Bingham. Yeah. I guess I like that vibe, those elements of these little things that scar us.
Yeah, that comes up a lot, like in Crawling, right? It's these wounds, they will not heal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good start to the album. I mean, it's kind of the prototypical Linkin Park song, so it has the rap and then it has the screamy, but yet melodic vocals. So I'm not sure. It's like they've kind of perfected it or something, like they've borrowed from all of the other new metal and made it into like one perfect package, and I don't mean to suggest that it's, I mean, it is commercial, but I'm not sure, at least from the band perspective, how much they were intentionally making commercial decisions. But I think they just kind of were naturally getting there.
I don't think of it as commercial. I think of it as accessible, more so. I mean, there's no swearing on this, which I don't know if it was intentional, but that certainly makes for an album that mom might feel more comfortable buying. There's no parental advisory.
Wow.
So why don't we jump to another track, One Step Closer. I didn't want to admit it at the time, but I really liked this song. This was the debut single, aggressive riff, cathartic hook. Mike Shinoda's verses convey the feeling of being overwhelmed, while Chester Bennington's chorus captures reaching a breaking point from this constant stress,
I remember, so I worked in radio at the time, and we felt like, my boss felt like the song was a little too aggressive for daytime. So I actually had to edit out a little bit of the shut up when I'm talking to you part, because it just sounded so aggressive.
I mean, this is a little dude. Chester Bennington was not an imposing physical presence, but when he sang like that, it was like, all right, I believe you. I'm backing up.
Yeah. Especially the break. The break part is pretty impressive.
Very impressive. That's really what I took away from this, was my being certainly more accepting of Mike's rap pieces and their counterbalance of Chester's aggression. And even his soft moments are nice and clean, very nice too. But I really appreciate and learned how integral to this sound Chester's voice is, and the pain. He also had a rough upbringing and potentially some childhood abuse and getting picked on, and all this stuff comes out here as well, but just in a more accessible package. I think more people could hear, first of all, could accept, and then you've got these bursts of anger mixed with these moments of softness.
Yeah, even like Jonathan Davis, there's vulnerability.
Yes, for sure. And it's not subtle.
No.
I mean, and Chester Bennington suffered depression through his entire life, unfortunately passing away in 2017, I believe, for taking his own life. But that's part of what I also took in listening to these songs, is at 23 or 4 or whatever he was at this time, he was feeling all this stuff, and it's like you're getting it out, right? But it never stopped torturing him. That, and leading to drug and alcohol abuse and things like that. But this was something that ate away at him his entire life, and it makes me sad that I was in any way dismissive of it at the time.
Yeah. Well, at least he probably didn't know about it.
Well, you think it's performative, right?
Yeah.
But then, it turns out a lot of times, even Chris Cornell and other artists, it's real, and you just think it's performing because it's too uncomfortable to to think it's someone living through pain, you know?
He sounded so young to me at the time that I didn't really, I think I was at that age where I was getting a little older. And so anybody younger than me anything they had to say just, it was like, oh, shut up. You're
shut up when I'm talking to
you. You're 20.
Yeah. Well, we were mid-late 20s and he was early 20s.
Yeah. But actually, I mean, the band in general, they sound like young.
Yes.
And so I think that's probably what I found off-putting at the time.
There was some kind of new metal boy band. Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah. I guess that was maybe the perception I had. But, listening to the album, there's obviously, a lot of maturity there.
So, Donnie boy, if you'd like me to shut up when you're talking to me, why don't you tell me what song you'd like to talk about?
Well, this, again, I was in rock radio at the time, and, this one was huge. Here's In the End. Supposedly, the song kind of deals with, or was inspired by, struggles they were having with, the record industry and having to deal with shady people. But then the narrative kind of moved on into being more about failed relationships and, trust and futility. It's, again, it's great interplay between the rap and the aggressive singing, but Bennington has a nice soft part in the middle. He
does.
I put my trust in you. So there's that vulnerability that I guess counteracts the aggressive.
He takes that line and then does it.
Oh yeah, more aggressive,
gravelly next.
Yes.
That piano thing at the beginning we should talk about.
Oh yeah.
It almost touched on like a Nine Inch Nails moment, like a closer,
like the downward spiral thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, that piano riff is iconic now at this point. Mm-hmm. Really kind of sets the mood, for the song. Because it is, it's a hit record, I guess it's upbeat in its own way, but it has, a dark tone to it. And I think it's that piano that, establishes that.
Yeah.
This is a song I think I always liked the sound of it because it did kind of remind me of some of the, new wave and post-punk stuff.
Depeche Mode
and
stuff.
Yeah. Those minor chords and that piano really sounded like something that could have been out of a Depeche Mode record.
Minor chords and major anger.
Ooh.
So why don't we close out the album here with the final track, Pushing Me Away. I don't know if this was a single, but I remember hearing this song on the radio. It's kind of a introspective counterpoint to the aggression on the rest of the album. It's more restrained. Guitar's more subtle. The turntable effects kind of create tension, with Chester's vocals conveying vulnerability, frustration, possibly reflecting on his battle with depression.
Maybe
he's pushing himself away. Maybe it's a person in his life. I don't know.
Yeah, something you can't escape from, I think, is the idea.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on this as a closer?
I kind of considered the song before this is instrumental. And I feel like those two songs kind of went together. They were of like a similar mood. And again, kind of reminded me of, good old Depeche Mode, kind of more melodic, but darker songs. It's a nice counterpoint to, One Step Closer and some of the stuff from earlier in the record. So a more chill, introspective, end to the album experience.
There's so much to talk about here, but it's time for us to rewind and reflect on Hybrid Theory as a whole. So overall vibe here, I'll start with my clickbait headline. Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, the album that made you yell, "Shut up when I'm talking to you," at least once. It's tight, it's polished, accessible, no wasted moments. The lyrics are universally relatable. With isolation, frustration, failure. It's energetic yet melodic. It's like this perfect balance between raw emotion and mainstream appeal. And the use of rap here and the turntables and the raw soaring vocals somehow just click together like Legos. Just real nice. Very enjoyable.
Yes, I agree. So in fact, my clickbait headline is I tried so hard to dislike this album, but in the end, it's pretty darn good. And notice I didn't swear, right? I did darn.
Nor did you sing.
Yeah.
I tried so hard
To dislike this album. Yes. Yeah, I was stupid, when I was, at that age. And I'm really happy to go back and listen to this stuff now and see the value.
I think we've talked about this before. I hope that current generations are less allegiant to a particular sound or genre and more open to all sorts of stuff, because there's so much good stuff that we missed out on because we were so stubborn.
Yeah, I think they might be. I think there's hope in that way. That's one way they might be better than us.
One of many, and no one even cares about the Gen Xers. We're just gum on the shoes of the boomers and the millennials. Okay, so killer to filler ratio. I mean, it's a 37-minute record. There's not a moment that isn't enjoyable. Some of the other killers besides the songs we talked about, Crawling, one of Chester's defining moments, I think you mentioned briefly. Helplessness of addiction and anxiety paired with a huge chorus.
Yeah, a lot of electronic elements. So some of the songs really have a lot, which is not something we heard a ton of in the Korn record. So they really introduced that to this genre.
Any other high points for you?
I like A Place for My Head.
Me too.
I think that's another one that did a lot of the electronic noise as well, and the scratching. For some reason, I really enjoyed the scratching. I guess because I don't listen to a lot of music that has it.
I was just like, that shouldn't be there. And back in the day, and now I'm like, why? It's a nice sound. Yeah. It works well. Yeah. It helps break up the tension and shift moments around. So yeah, I agree. That song is one of the heavier ones too. Mm-hmm. Points of Authority, I thought was kind of groovy.
Yes,
it's like furious rhythm. And this one had a little more hip hop swagger.
Yeah,
I think.
And I read that it was like a computer manipulated guitar riff. So I'm not sure exactly. Maybe like in post production they were throwing some extra distortion or effect on it. Which I guess was somewhat new. At the turn of the century. Any
fillers? I mean, some that were less interesting.
No, I mean I don't really have anything to identify as being particularly weak.
I mean, I guess just some of the songs I don't remember as well, but that's it.
Yeah.
Like Runaway and By Myself and Forgotten. Like when I see the titles, I can't immediately remember which songs they are, but I also have not lived with this album for a very long time. Just listened to it 30 times in the last week.
Yeah.
So it's hard to judge.
Right. And it's often the case with me that the ones that don't stand out to me initially are become my favorites.
It was the one that you wake up in the middle of the night in your head like, what the hell? Production-wise, Don Gilmore and engineer Andy Wallace kind of crafted this radio-friendly wall of sound. I feel like it was sort of Phil Spector-y in a way. Like it just hits you and you can't move past it. It works.
Yeah. I get the sense that he was probably a bit of a taskmaster and was really pushing them to make everything perfect. I assume he deserves a lot of credit for sort of establishing this Linkin Park sound or perfecting it maybe.
Yeah. Helping them complete their vision. Legacy-wise, I think Hybrid Theory was the mainstream explosion. I mean, there's already your Limp Bizkits and things going on, but this is not a negative thing, but it's where nu metal broke through to the mainstream top hits, mainstream radio play, making it onto other radio formats outside of alternative stations because it was relatable, interesting sonically, and had all those elements of nu metal in a way that you could more easily accept because it wasn't as ugly.
Yes, that's true. And then, of course, once you get that mainstream success, that sort of is the beginning of the end of a genre. Yeah.
Yep. I hear you.
I mean, I think the legacy is that it definitely advanced the genre. So I think it's great that we did 2 records, so you got the very beginning and then 6 or 7 years later, and you can see how much it evolved and and then where it would go from there.
I mean, we didn't talk about it, but replay value, we've both been gushing. So yeah, definitely this is in the regular rotation for me. Some of their other records too, but this one is, I mean, it's great. I really regret not embracing it 25 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, and I like that I sound less ridiculous rapping to this than other records. A little less ridiculous.
Okay, well, we'll take that, won't we? So Hybrid Theory helped define a generation, blending raw emotion, rap, and metal into a polished, unforgettable debut. Check it out.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
All right. Well, we both worked at a record store, so we know how many CDs you can fit in those big pants. You know, those.
Yes.
What's in your pants, dude? What are you digging this week?
What's in my pants? All right, so I'm kicking it off with a new, I guess, supergroup called Mirador, Mirador, featuring Jake Kiszka of Greta Van Fleet. He's the guitarist and twin brother of the lead singer. Oh. Chris Turpin from Ida May with Nick Pinney and Mikey Sorbello. They just released their self-titled debut September 19th of 2025. Recorded live in Savannah, Georgia with producer Dave Cobb. Who? My favorite guy. It's a 12-track, 47-minute album that blends classic rock, folk, blues, and country influences. Let's listen to a little bit of Feels Like Gold. Now this features vocals from Jake and Chris. They're kind of co-vocalists. The themes of the album explore struggle, myth, hope, identity. This is sort of where I hoped Greta Van Fleet would go. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really happy to hear this kind of sound from one of the members.
I like it. It's a little swampy or something, or I don't know.
It's got a little Rival Sons vibes to it too, which Dave Cobb is the producer of. Yeah. So yeah, I'll be listening to this a hell of a lot more this year. And then secondly, I like to dig in on one of the vinyl records that's in my collection or recently acquired. And I did just pick up Beauty and the Beat by the Go-Go's, released July 14th, 1981. It kind of showcases their transition from punk roots to a more polished new wave sound. Why don't we listen to a little bit of Our Lips Are Sealed. So I've been making an effort to include more female artists in my collection. I've got, young ladies in my life that could someday inherit this record collection, and I think women should be better represented there. So I have been making an effort to things I like, just stuff I never would have thought to get.
Yeah,
so
good for you.
Yeah, I've grown up, Don. What you digging on?
A band called the Pink Stones. They're from Athens, Georgia, just like REM and the B-52s. But they're kind of alt-country. I also saw the term Cosmic Americana. That sounds intriguing. They're led by songwriter, guitarist Hunter Pinkston. He's got some punk influence.
That's where the Pink Stones come from. Got it.
That had not occurred to me, dude.
Oh, come on, Don.
Anyway, the new album is called Thank the Lord. It's the Pink Stones. And here's a track called If I Can't Win With You.
If I can't win with you, I guess I'll count the cards, 'cause
yeah, I've been listening to this one as well.
Yeah, it's fun.
If I hadn't stumbled on Mirador, this probably would have been on my list. I also got texted by our esteemed colleague, Andy. He's digging this one as well.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, good. It has a humorous vibe to it, but still some, I think, real heartache in it. And I don't know. I'm enjoying it. Or digging it.
Yeah, stick to the theme. This isn't what you enjoying.
You remember Erasure?
Can you enjoy it? Yes, I do. Yes, I do remember Erasure.
Yes, well, the frontman, Andy Bell, has his third solo album produced by Dave Aude. Or Aude, I think maybe it's Dave Aude, who worked with Madonna. Yeah, his new album, of course, it's synth pop, but there's a little more of a Euro disco vibe, I read, and also some gospel. And here's a track that features Debbie Harry from Blondie. Here's Heart's a Liar.
I'm not encouraged by the album cover, Don. It looks boring.
So the album is called 10 Crowns. I think it's supposed to be, an upbeat, sort of uplifting record. So maybe it's supposed to be the opposite. There's like it's an artistic technique or something, right? Where with montage or something.
I think you're stretching. I will try and listen to it and see if my concerns are warranted.
Yeah, so what are you digging? Let us know. Join us on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Album Nerds.
It will be a discovery of extraordinary value.
Well, here it is. Once again, time on the show when I'm reminded of the words of comedian Patton Oswalt, who probably knows the pain of being picked on as a youth. And I quote, "New metal always sounded like angry elves trying to escape from under a hot topic."
Yeah, see, that's the perspective I had back then, but now I've grown up.
Angry elves would be hanging out in the hot topic proudly.
Yes.
Patton, get your shit straight. With that in mind, let's bring out the wheel of musical discovery to find out what kind of albums we'll be discovering next time.
Next time, you'll be confessing your secret album crushes. These are the records you've loved, sometimes quietly, sometimes shamefully, but can't help coming back to. If not for love, then nostalgia.
Secret album crush, those records that maybe you liked and you didn't want your friends to know, or maybe it ran counter to your regular taste or to what your friends expected you to like, and that should be fun.
Yeah,
I'll finally be able to admit some things.
Wow.
Get to come clean.
Confession. All right. Well, what are your secret album crushes? What else are you listening to? Email us at podcast@albumnerds.com or follow us on Instagram and other social media at Album Nerds. And visit albumnerds.com to listen to all 309 episodes. And the best way to support the show is to share it. Please subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast app.
Thank you, as always, for joining us here on the Album Nerds podcast. Catch you next time. I got a crush on you.
Let the needle hit the groove. Let the needle hit the groove. Let the needle hit the groove.
Oh, sorry, drowning pool. Mm-hmm. But do let the needle hit the groove, please. Spin those records.
Groove is in the heart.
All right, see y'all next time.